Perfect. Thank you so much, Selena. Nice to meet you, everyone. Please don't hesitate to ask any questions within the chat. The goal is to make it as interactive as possible, so always feel free to ask any questions you may have. So what we're going to talk about today are the 15 use cases where AI is very relevant in your marketing strategy. It's just to present myself very quickly. I had a marketing agency for more than 5 years now. And I've been working in marketing field for more than 10 years. I'm trying and doing a lot of things with AI. And what I do most today is helping marketing teams implement AI within their teams. And that's why I kind of like very often see operationally what is happening and what works today and what usually fails. Um, I'm going to present all of this to you today. The goal is to really be as operational as possible. I really want to show you examples. I really want to be very useful to you. I don't want to stay in the theory because there's so many things that turn around theory already out there. So I always introduce with those three questions to ask before touching any AI tools. Just going to have a very quick recap there. Then we are going to dig into the 50 marketing use cases that truly work and talk about some of the classic traps I often see amongst clients, and finish with what AI can do. Yet, obviously, it will be possible maybe within a few years, but for the moment, it's not that easy to do. So the three questions to ask before touching any AI tool. The very first one, and it's very, very important, is always start with your problem. You're going to see on LinkedIn and elsewhere lots of posts telling you, okay, this is how I built my perfect content factory with like 7 layers of different content formats. Or we are going to see some people who tell you that they automate completely their whole SEO strategy and SEO publication as well. Do something with AI only if it's relevant to you. And the good question is never which tool am I going to use? It's always which task am I willing to automate and why. To give you my personal example, I I love writing LinkedIn posts. So when I tried first to create all my agents to automate my LinkedIn ideation, I actually almost never use them because I always want to rewrite them because I like this task and the task that I enjoy doing. And it's that's where I'm always going to be very critical regarding what AI does. So I may use it to help me a little bit sometimes, but it's not something that I'm always using to replace what I'm doing. But on the same time, I hate doing slides. And during the last months, I happened to do a lot and more presentations and webinars and podcasts. And because of this, I had to do lots of presentations, at least 3 or 4 a week. And so now I automated completely this kind of process. And for me, it takes 3 minutes to generate a new presentation. It is exactly built in my brand and that completely uses the content I need for my presentation as well. So and this I use it every single day. Another process that helps me a lot. I really hate looking into my calendar, saying when I'm available next, and answering all this question of like, yeah, can you do a call on those 3 days? Which one works the best for you? And so this is also something I automated very quickly, connecting Claude to my calendar, asking it to analyze my dates, and seeing as well where actually I could do some meetings, where not, and filling my calendar accordingly. And this is something also that I'm using every single day that helps me a lot. Because once again, it's something that I hate doing. So always start by asking yourself which are the tasks that take you most of the time, that you really don't like doing, and which are recurrent. And start by automating those. And please don't start with automation with something that is not relevant to you because you are not going to use it. And it's just going to be a struggle and it's just going to take you time. And it's not what we're looking for. So the task that you should automate should obviously tick those 4 boxes. It should be recurring, doing it at least once a week. If it's something that you hate doing, but you have to do it like for 3 hours once a month, maybe it's not worth automating. Check that it's also time consuming. It has to take at least 2 hours each time. Your task you don't like doing, and that has already been proven. This is also a very important point. You should do automation only once you have already done and experimented this type of format. To give you a very classic example coming from our marketing world, if you are willing, for instance, to automate your LinkedIn post creation, you should at least know who you would love to get inspiration from regarding the tone of voice, or you should, in the best case scenario, have already a few posts written by yourself, knowing why some of those posts are good and sound good to you, and why others sound less good to you. You have to really know the task first, and this is why AI is never going to replace your expertise, to actually be able to tell yourself, okay, this is how I should give feedback to AI. This is what I should tell it as information. This is good, this is bad, and why. And you should always know this when you're doing things like this. Um, and so that's why it's very, very important to have always your raw material to prompt well, and always consider as well AI is a very fast junior. So it's like someone who just came to your company and who doesn't know any context about you. So if you don't give it any context, it's always going to give you generic response. It's absolutely logical. Also, if you don't have a data set, it's going to make things up, and without human expertise, it's always going to just stay predictive. So just I think all of you know it, an LLM is just a predictive model. It's just here to predict the next word coming in a sentence. So it's not something that is able to think. And something that is very important coming from this in the marketing world is that if you ask AI to actually generate to you funny content or find to you a funny quote, we're doing something like this for VivaTech this weekend, it's not going to understand what actually funny means. Yes, it may look for sentences where you have the word fun, funny, or fun, or laugh within the sentence. It may look for a more like original vocabulary within the conference as well, like conference about AI. If at some point a speaker starts talking about his wife, maybe it will be the funnier quote. But you have to really understand how to explain to predictive model what funny means. And this way it becomes very interesting. And this way you also need your expertise more than ever, because you have to, in a way, explain to AI what those very human concept means and find ways because of your expertise, to be able to tell it in the most precise and concrete way possible. And something that's very important for me as well, if at some point the prompt doesn't work, so if Claude doesn't find funny quotes or those quotes are not funny enough, it's not an issue of the model. ChatGPT is not going to understand it better, or Dust is not going to understand it better. The only difference here is going to be the prompt, the way you explain what funny means to you. So that's why it's very, very important to really always have good categorized raw material about what you want to automate, and at the same time being able to really explain what you mean with through your expertise and what good content means to you. Please, if you have any questions, jump in the chat as well. Tell me if I'm talking too fast as well. So yeah, feel free to interact in the best way possible. So now let's dig into the 515 marketing use cases truly work. So a very, very first one I use a lot today is the LinkedIn one. So once again, if you just come to an agent and ask it to write to you a LinkedIn post, it's going to do something super generic, and it's just going to really emphasize on everything that LinkedIn already does wrong with all those posts written in nominal sentences, kind of like don't saying anything, and this kind of like very caricatural LinkedIn style. So here, what you want is actually give as much context as possible, and I'm just going to show you how I'm doing this. It's like for this use case, what I usually do right now is I'm going to scrub the whole account using a tool like Apify. You can use Uniply, yeah, many different tools for this. And it's not something like Phantom Buster that is going to make any harm to your own personal account as well. So you can just scrub the complete all the posts from this account, see as well all the reactions, the comments, the saves, and also you can sometimes scrap as well your own list of subscribers if it's something that's coming from you, that will allow you to know as well, okay, which are the posts where my persona are reacting and which are the posts where just my friends are reacting. It's not that interesting for me neither. And then once you have it, you can do a much deeper analysis using LLM. This becomes really interesting, is that because you can really find deep correlations you wouldn't be able to find by hand. So, for instance, we have done this test for several clients now, but for the very first one, he was an influencer, he posted a lot, but they actually find out that when the images he was using with his LinkedIn posts were more in the bluish colors, it wasn't working as well as the images in more orange, yellow, warm colors. The other thing as well was kind of what is the perfect length for the first sentence of each post. We actually find out that this first sentence has to be more around 9 syllables for him, not for us. It doesn't apply for other people as well, just for him and for his results, for his audience. And actually, the rhythm of this first sentence was also very important, and having comma there with a slight respiration was also making a huge difference in the impact of the post. So it was also kind of interesting to see this kind of analysis and where you get leaded. Obviously, something that's very important to have in mind as well is that sometimes an LLM is going to tell you, okay, because of this analysis, I see that actually when you post on Tuesday, it works much better than Thursday. And it had done this conclusion for one of the clients we were working with. But actually, the issue was that on Tuesday, they were posting a format of a post that was slightly more boring than all the other ones. And so maybe even if the results was right, it was a direct correlation, not because of the day, but because of the nature of the post. And this way, you can also do much more tests and really play with LinkedIn and with the AI because you can create A/B testing agents that will allow you to actually check some of those hypotheses and see if they are true or wrong. And it's very, very cool. And often people who are doing ghostwriting or content creation, I'm talking about myself as well, are not the most data-driven people as well and don't want to spend ages checking all the analytics and trying to find those correlations. And AI kind of like once again allows us to do so. And this is what is very, very cool. Um, and once you have those, this is the moment where you can do the whole reverse prompting. Here, what I usually do is that if you have a lot of data about someone's way of writing, so at least 300, 400 posts, you won't be able in one single prompt to explain how you want the agent to write. So this is the moment where you can actually create through this whole analysis a markdown document or a PDF, a Word document, like just a document explaining exactly how someone writes. And this document is going to explain, yeah, so he uses emojis, he may use sometimes this kind of like his sentences are this long, he's always never uses nominal sentences, all those kind of examples. He never uses adjectives or adverbs, or when he uses one, it will always be in a short sentence. And this will allow you to have a very, very complete document about one style of writing. And then you can create agents who are going to help you write new posts, but they're always going to work based on this document. So you'll just ask them, please read the document first and then produce the output. And so this will make the result much better as well. Um, and so you move from one single agent that speaks like very generic content to an agent that really writes in your style. It works for your audience because you have done this whole job before of data analysis, reverse prompting, and analyzing with LLM. Could you just tell me in the chat that I haven't lost any of you and that it seems clear to you as well? Because I just don't want to. Yeah, all good. Perfect. Thanks. Thanks, Matilda, as well. One other thing that I love to do this, I just like to push further those use cases, is still like you have so many people asking you, okay, like I don't know where to find ideas for my posts. And something that you can also very easily do using this because you can understand which are the topics that are interesting for your audience because you scrubbed the post from your account, from accounts of your competitors, seeing as well where they get most of the reactions. And then you can create just an agent that could find ideas for your LinkedIn post and that could find ideas for your LinkedIn post from, for instance, your calls transcriptions, or for instance, from the webinars you may do, or for instance, from like discussions you may have during conferences if you record them on your phone or any tools. And this allow you to actually turn any single discussion you may have around your business into new ideas of posts. And I kind of recommend doing this because it's very, very useful. With this, you can also fill afterwards like a whole Notion database with ideas of posts, and then the client can just choose the ideas that are interesting for him, then use all the writing skills we created just before to write the final post. It also, what I really love is creating an agent that kind of could predict how a post is going to work because we gave all this data before. It obviously knows what is working on my LinkedIn right now. So I could just, it's my virality agent. It's going to test the virality of the post, saying, okay, I think this post may work for those reasons or for those reasons, and here is how to improve it to make it more viral. And something very cool as well. And what I really recommend you doing is always the feedback loop. Once you have posted the post on LinkedIn, you could either scrap again using Apify by the end of the month for all your posts of the month, either use the Claude plugin in LinkedIn to kind of take every single week all the impressions and data from all your single posts and fill it in a Notion page, and then ask the all the virality agents to kind of check the real data and see if what they predicted was actually accurate and why it was not. And out of this, suggest new ideas on how to make this prompt more relevant, to always make it stick to the reality of what is happening on your LinkedIn and not somewhere else. And I think kind of like always thinking with this loop is very important. Giving you another example, a link to this. I obviously automated my email creation, and now I have agents that write emails out of my calls with clients. And I have those email writers in English and in French. And I have created a trigger on Claude. So it's an agent that activates once a week to check how I corrected every single mail it has written, and that suggests me updates for the whole prompt and the initial prompt to make it sound more like me. And because of this, I have been testing this for 3 months now. The mails I get at the end are really close to what I would have written because they're updated every single week with my corrections within Gmail. So always think about this loop, and it's something that applies as well on LinkedIn. And this will allow you to kind of improve your prompts based on real data every single week. Um, Multilingual SEO is also something I hear a lot. It's something that lots of clients are asking for. Actually, what I found really interesting is that kind of all the discussions on AI, um, open discussions on automation within marketing teams. So lots of teams I'm talking to, they're not even willing to use AI, but they are thinking about automation rather than anything else. They will just ask me to, for instance, sometimes automate the integration of blogs within the SMS or the integration of newsletters within the SMS as well. And it's something where they're going to win lots of time. But this doesn't require any AI. But in this minus link, because like yeah, we're automating some stuff, but it's that's why kind of like all most of the core missions, the core tasks that really allow teams to gain time, they are actually based in automation rather than AI, and that is very interesting as well. So what we had, we were working with a B2B SaaS that was publishing SEO content in 5 languages across 7 markets. For each one of the articles, they wanted to brief a copywriter. Then he was writing the first draft, and it was sent to copywriters from every single country to translate it, and then it was published and tracked afterwards. So we wanted to see if there were any keywords in SEO that were dropping, and if a keyword was dropping, we wanted to see if it was an important keyword for the business or not, because sometimes you have keywords dropping, but it's actually not core for the business. And so you had to kind of link it to the keywords that were very core to this specific B2B business. And if they were, we're creating briefs to optimize the initial article to make it to make it much better. And actually made the team gain lots of time. So what we were doing, I think the first part, as you get it, it's kind of easy, is creating the automated, auto-generated SEO briefs. So as soon as we had one keyword coming there, it would generate the whole brief. It was easy to do with this client because they have already created 300 briefs before. It was something that was done by hand by several humans for years now. Really knew what made a good brief. They were able to give lots of feedback. And because of this, automating this part was very easy. We did the whole automation around detecting decaying keywords. So this is something where you enter rather into automation rather than AI creation, but something that the client will never understand. So, but it was more a challenge. We did it on NA10, but it's doable on every single tool you may use. And finally, we did the auto multilingual publishing. They were publishing the articles on the CMS on Webflow. And they had this kind of like small complexity where you had to have the English article as a core and you had to implement all the other articles around it. But we still managed to make it work pretty easily with no-code tools. So once again, this is more an automation task rather than AI creation. So once again, very important. Never do any automation or AI stuff without proven material. We managed to do so just because it was done several times before. They really knew what to expect, so it was much easier to do. And if you haven't improved and tested those flow yet, please start by creating some agents that you may use on day-to-day basis. And then once you're sure that they're working, you are sure that you have the right feedback there, this is where you can move into automation with no code or code. But never do it up front because otherwise it's going to break and it's just going to make you lose much more time than ever. A third use case is I really love this one is reuse content from sales into marketing. So as you know, right now in lots of companies, sales calls are transcripted. They also have a very polished CRMs, and our goal is to make work as many agents as possible on those sales calls to generate content for marketing teams. Um, so we can do lots of things here. I just get you 5 use cases that could allow you to reuse those sales calls. The first one is to kind of be able to understand which are the real objections and concerns of your persona and how can you and like kind of how can you reuse it in the marketing team. So if you have exactly all those objections, you could also have automatically an agent suggesting you how to improve the FAQ on your landing page with the right questions about your business, and could be very interesting as well. Another one I really love is the case study relevance. I have so many clients that really need a lot of case studies and something that is core everywhere. But very often, as marketing teams, we don't have enough context about what happened with this prospect of this client. We also sometimes don't get access to every single client. And even if sometimes there are very interesting use cases that get missed. Like for instance, for a B2B company, it's very important to understand who are all the prospects that come churning from competitors. And maybe if those prospects turns into clients, there's a super interesting use cases to explain the churn rather than having something much more generic about this topic. So what we want to do here is to analyze every single call we may have within the sales team and understand with AI which prospects or clients are the most interesting for us to turn them into a use case, and to ask it as well to give us as many context as possible to be actually able to reach out to them and to write the absolute best possible use case as well. Another thing that is very important is the competitive intelligence as well. As all companies, we kind of like know who our main competitors, but it's actually very interesting to turn it into a whole agent that kind of checks if the names of the competitors we're thinking of are the real competitors our prospects are talking about. And as you know, in SEO strategy, for instance, we often do articles like benchmarking of the best tools to kind of push our tools, all these kind of things, because we want to rank on the SEO keywords from competitors. But this is where we can actually really see who the real competitors are, who are the real keywords used by the clients. And this is something that brings me to the point 5 that I find super interesting. That you could actually use those sales call for your SEO strategy, because you will find the exact keywords your prospects are using that you will be able afterwards to search into tools like SEMrush or Ahref using an API. And after this, being able to see, okay, actually, so this word, we haven't tackled it yet in our SEO strategy, but we definitely should because some prospects are using it. It could be very, very interesting to nourish this whole strategy. And finally, also understanding their real pain points and needs that will allow you as well to create the absolute best content as possible in like white papers, lead magnets. Often the clients I see who have the best acquisition strategy, they often have absolutely insane lead magnets based on their clients' needs. And today, using Lovable, all these kind of tools, even Cloud Code, you can create very easily, absolutely insane and very cool lead magnets and assets like this. And so I think it's something that you should definitely use as well as an inspiration to find which are the real pain points you should tackle. To give you one example, I had one of the clients who had the CRM, so it's very like easy business. Within the CRM, almost all the single people prospects they were talking to, they were mentioning scripts for cold calls. and their tool wasn't evolving around scripts for cold calls. It was doing much more. So they decided to just create a lead magnet around this. And at some point, it was bringing 80% of their business, just a tool that was generating scripts for cold calls. And they built their whole SEO strategy around it, their whole LinkedIn strategy around it. And it was really bringing them lots of mails and qualified leads. So I think it's something that you should really look into to find new ideas of lead magnets to create. So those are the main I just talking about. Also, it's very cool to have one agent that kind of closes the whole loop. For instance, it will allow you to just do a proactive content recommendations. For instance, we'll analyze all the calls during the week from the sales and send you content recommendations on Slack. So, and there's something that also works back, sorry. We use the sales calls to give more inspiration to marketing teams because this is where we found lots of raw ideas about what our prospects are thinking exactly. But we could use it the other way around as well. We could actually take all the calls, all the content produced by the marketing team and push it at the right moment to the sales. And something that's a pain point I see in a lots of companies. So for instance, one very big B2B company I was working with, they were sending all the content they were creating just on Slack for their sales companies. But the sales are never going to just read the Slack with summaries of what marketing we're creating. So what you would like to do here is when you finish the call as a sales, you could have an agent that would use the whole database of content created by marketing teams and suggest you really exact ideas of what you should reuse and what content you could use to the prospect to convert him into a client. So this is very useful. And a bonus as well, always reuse your own calls. You can, if you take the calls from the founder, the CMO, you can also check out of this also LinkedIn ideas, blog post ideas, newsletter ideas. And it's something that always is based on real conversations and not anything else. Um, so yeah, just a few ideas, but you should have like volume as usual. Volume always counts. It's better to do those batches by week and not by month because otherwise you may have too much data. Once again, AI is like a junior profile. If you take a junior or every single human being and throw at him 1,000 documents to read, it may only read like the file. It will read very carefully the first 10, then it will just like read slightly the next 20, and it will completely forget the rest. So the more data you give to an LLM, the more it's going to be lost with this as well. So this is why it's better to do it in smaller batches to really ensure that it will have enough data as well. Always count like it will take time to do this analysis, at least like about 2 minutes per run. And always use time reverse prompting. Always what I'm always using, and I really for me it's the main output from today. When you are prompting, always ask at the end of the prompt to the agent, ask me as many questions as possible to understand my need. Ask it to ask you questions because you are going to do so, it's going to ask all the questions you haven't thought about, and it's going to allow you to really give the absolutely best result there as well. So it's very important to add this as well. So it kind of creates this whole loop where marketing creates content. It's based on real conversation, not anything else. The sales use this targeted content, leads to more conversions, and everyone is happy. So this is kind of like the goal here. Um, the other use case I use a lot, and this is more for strategic roles, is using AI as a strategic partner. So as we all know, yeah, AI is not going to replace us. AI is not thinking better than us. AI is a predictive model. Let's like still always stick to this. But what is very important as a CMO, as a founder, you always kind of you have to take important decisions. You have to work on your marketing budget plan. You have to work on so many data sets just going to use within the team. What I kind of suggest to you to do is always kind of building a dedicated critic agent. What I always do is I'm always creating my brains within Claude. So I have a cache confidence brain, I have my AI brain. And so my AI brain, for instance, has access to every single conference I have ever given. It also has access to every single training I have ever written, and it has access to every single work I have done for every single client. It also knows exactly the way I'm writing, as I was telling to you about the email stuff, all these kind of things. And once it has all this data, my main goal is to ask it to ask me as many questions as possible to understand what exactly am I doing and how exactly am I intending to use it. And afterwards, it's just going to turn into like a whole Q&A where AI is going to ask me questions and I can answer it. Really, for some CMOs and more strategical roles, it may take sometimes 4 to 6 hours to interact with the AI, answer as many questions as possible. You can choose as well which questions are relevant to you, which are less, but it will allow you to really think about every single bottleneck, every single really crucial point you would have had like the immediate response kind of like giving to AI, but now you know that you kind of like ask you questions and you just answer them. When you finish answering all these questions, you can ask it to generate, once again, a markdown document or a PDF or Word, whatever works for you, that will summarize your whole discussion and really tell the understanding the LLM has of you, of your job, and your strategic decisions. What we have to understand here is that once again, AI is just a predictive model. So if you have done one decision 9 times in your life, it's going to tell you that the 10th time you should do this decision again. But what we're interested in here and what we want AI to really dig into is the moment when on the 10th time you didn't take the same decision. On the 10th time you had the intuition, because you're human, that maybe this decision wasn't the right one and you had to take a different decision there. And this is what we have to really understand through AI. We have to explain to LLM why the 10th time the decision wasn't the same that the other 9 times. And for this, we have to let the LLM find the patterns in our decision, in our way of thinking, in our whole strategy, to then kind of start discussing with us to better understand where our intuition comes from. And for me, people who are going to be the best at using AI within a few years are going to be people who are going to kind of like be very aware of why they take some decisions and what really their intuitions are. This is super important. And so what we want here is kind of like turn our agent, it can be ChatGPT, Claude, or whatever, into an intuition questionnaire. So just like ask as many questions as possible to really understand where our intuition comes from and what really motivates our decisions. And once you have this written on a document, we just can create a prompt here for an agent that will become our sparring partner to kind of like always discuss with us on our ideas. And we could once again update this sparring partner every month by saying, okay, now based on our discussion this month, could you please ask me more questions to understand why I have done some of the choices I have made, and to really rework together the initial prompt to make it as relevant as possible. And this will allow you to always have the same document here internally. And in some companies, what I'm advising them to do is kind of like build this marketing brain and then share it with the whole of the rest of the team as well. And also maybe use it sometimes to update as well the sales, like the sales playbook, all the kind of other assets that exist within the company. It's super, super useful. What I also love doing is like, as you know, a human brain is complex. I really love the movie Inside Out, and it kind of like does this it has this kind of format of saying like, yeah, in the human brain they have joy, we have sadness, we have anger and whatever. And for this, I really believe that kind of creating agents within a single tool, like that all have the same prompt. So you have in Claude, you have like free projects with the same prompt, the same instructions. In ChatGPT, the same. But in each of the prompts, you're just going to add at the end a different personality. So just going to have one agent that is very like, it's a normal one, another one that is always very angry and critical, another one that is very naive, another one that is very kind of like sad, whatever. And it will also kind of allow you to stimulate this kind of human brain moment where you can really understand some, like get into more creative path as well. So do you suggest giving it total access to your OneDrive and other files? So it really depends on the company's policies as well. I see so many companies that forbid using Cloud Cowork because it will have access to everything. What I'm doing right now in all those brains is really giving access to only documents it will have to read to be able to assess what I'm doing. And I'm kind of critical about this as well. It's something, so I have on the side a podcast called Cash Confidence. We have done, this is how we met with Cecile as well. And for Cash Confidence, we have like, we have a lot of episodes by now, and we have a lot of content. And so at some point, I just kind of had my drive folder with all the transcripts of all episodes, all the content we have created around our episodes, and all the posts we have created around it. I just gave everything to AI. And it actually didn't produce good results because it was too much. Once again, you're just throwing a lot of information on someone. When I try to go less, so right now I stick all my projects in Claude. I always failed up to 50% of capacity max. I'm always turning between 33% to 50%. This is for me the sweet spot. Um, and so I just give, and now I just tell him, okay, like, those are the things I really want you to read. Those are very relevant, very important to me. If you find information there, read all those documents first. Then, if you didn't find information, go into those documents second. And if you didn't find something, go on those documents third. And I will always kind of like give it to the whole LLM, the whole context of what to read first, what to read next, and I will retrieve all the documents that are not good enough. And something that's also very, very important. So I will never give access to one single drive or other files. I'll always kind of like clean up those files to make sure that I'm giving the right files, and that it doesn't have too much data, and the data it has is really, really relevant. Yeah, and then I spend a lot of time talking back and forth, and this is the most important thing. So always spend time briefing the agents. It's very, very important. Um, and finally, some of the agents I use a lot, and those are kind of very important for me as well. I have this hero content repurposing, something I really, really believe in, saying that we kind of like it's today it's the most relevant thing is about sharing the relevant information. It's not longer about kind of like and it's about how do you bring this deep human knowledge to any content, and not how why you're producing more content, because everyone is able to produce content, but not everyone is able to have the right ideas on any single topic. So that's why hero content like webinars, like podcasts, like conferences are absolutely a gemstone to kind of repurpose it into other contents as well. So I always have right now agents that are just going to take transcripts of longer content like webinars and podcasts and turn it into ideas for smaller content. Ideas for lead magnets with prompts I can directly use into Lovable. Ideas for white papers taken from several webinars on one similar topic. Ideas for LinkedIn posts, ideas for newsletters, and then I have agents that will be able to write in the same tone of voice each one of those pieces of content. The AI ticks clean up, but it's very important for me as well. Everyone hates the im dash and everyone hates the nominal sentences of AI. And I found that the main solution for this is to always create very small agents. There's only role is to correct this single mistake. So I have today a skill in Claude that ensures I don't have any em dashes in any text I may do. I have another one that just ensures that all the sentences are shorter and not very long ones. Another one that ensures that there are no nominal sentences as well. And I kind of like each time I see a tick from AI, I'm just going to always create an agent that is going to counterbalance it as well. Also, community moderation replies. I think it's something like it's a very important use case from the very, very beginning. Today, it's much easier to respond to a lots of comments when you have on social media. And you can all obviously train it on all your previous answers before, train it as well on answers from companies that you find very fun. Like at some point, everyone wanted to be as fun on social media as Duolingo or as Burger King, and you can just take all their data, take all their comments, and kind of train a model to be able to undo fun comments like them on social media. And it's something that kind of allows and empowers your community management teams as well. It's also very useful to create paid ad copy at scale. Obviously, something I see a lot today are people who just creating one campaign in one country, and then you need to adapt it to other countries or to other formats. Obviously, using LLMs to adapt content into other formats for other verticals, other countries, other formats is something that is super useful. Uh, I always have people asking to me about competitive research. It's a use case. It always comes. It's a very complex one, actually. It's like even last week I was correcting a client who has like just done their prompt to do the competitive research. And something that is very important to keep in mind is that LLM won't have access to every single website, and sometimes it will have access to a website today and it won't have access tomorrow. The best solution if you want to do competitive research is to put it on your emails and to actually on your site to subscribe to as many newsletters as possible that are interesting in your field, and then ask an agent to summarize everything that happened in those mails and to just create the digest for you. This will be the easiest way to do so because you know it is always going to have access to your emails, it's always going to have access to the newsletters, so it always will allow you to create this digest. But if you ask it to kind of like check the 5 websites of your main competitors, it's like you never know if it's going to see them or it's going to, if this the access may change. Did it actually have access to it? As you all know, they love to lie, and sometimes they'll tell you, yes, I had access to this website, but it was completely wrong from the beginning. So please always check first if the LLM has access to those websites, even put it in the prompt. Check the access first. If you don't have access, please tell it to me in the chat. And afterwards, let's do the competitive analysis. But the easiest and surest way to do so is to put it into your emails. Also, the branded newsletters assembly as well works very well. Like what I had just been talking to this about clients yesterday. But if you start building the whole LinkedIn machine, it's very easy afterwards to say, okay, now I have so many ideas for my LinkedIn post. And actually, I think that in my newsletter, what I want to push forward are ideas that are really linked to real life problems from my clients. Or I want to really push ideas that are very linked, for instance, to my business and to keywords in my business. And so I could actually create agents that are going to rate some of my LinkedIn posts and LinkedIn ideas to afterwards suggest to me new newsletters based on what I have already written in my LinkedIn. So please use it always to repurpose into new content, and AI could be very helpful to this. I went to content engine as well. It works very well. It was something I was doing at the very beginning. It was always considered like as an impressive demo. But even before the end of an event, you can already create lots of content out of this. Like for instance, right now, I am transcribing everything we're talking about in Granola. So from Granola, I can get the transcript within a few minutes, and then I can push it into my Claude and ask it to generate a white paper, LinkedIn post, a newsletter, whatever, within seconds because everything is already ready. So what you can actually do is even before the end of an event, produce as much content as possible out of this event in a few minutes. And this is very cool as well. So just explaining here very quickly how that works, but we talked about this as well. Do you have any questions so far about all of this, or is it clear? And hopefully I answered your question, Shaya. Oh. All good, or did I lost everyone? No, it's fine. Sorry, I'm talking very fast as well sometimes, so hopefully it's fine. Okay, cool. Some of the classic tropes because I see. Yeah, sorry, it's fine. But I wanted to share lots of information as well. So um, automating before proving anything by hand. I think by this point, you understood that it's something that is very, very important. If you, it's never just jump into a no-code tool like N8N or make just to make it more exciting. It doesn't make any sense. Please always start by creating agents within an environment where you can test things like Claude or ChatGPT or whatever, and kind of like try the agents, see the outputs. The reason why for content creation I have never been using Claude Code from the beginning is because I really want to keep the hand on what I'm doing. And Claude Code is actually thinking really fast and skipping lots of steps. And if I ask it to automate, for instance, my the copywriting of my articles on SEO, it's just going to do very quickly every single step, and I wouldn't be able to see where exactly it does mistakes, and I wouldn't be able to give it as much feedback as I would in within cowork. That's why I always start in an environment where you can test, where you can give feedback, where you can see what is actually going wrong. And then once you see that every single agent is working well, this is where you can move into Cloud Code. Always do manual test, always validate your results, always do automation based on things you have already created before, and then automate once everything works. Uh, Very important always prompt with proven material, and something that's becoming very difficult in some companies as well because they had some collaborators who were creating new content using AI, and so sometimes now they have a whole database where they have 20% of very good human content, 40% of human content is like meat, and the rest are AI generated content they have no control over. And so now if they ask AI to train on this whole data set, it's actually biased. It's going to have already AI tick somewhere. It's not going to be as good as it was before. So it's very important to always keep in mind to qualify the content you're using, saying as well which content is good and why, which content is bad and why, and always keep the hand on the data you have within the company to be able to say this you should reuse it within a new AI flow, this you shouldn't, and this is why. And always use your human expertise to give feedback. It's something that is never going to die. It's very important. You will be able to tell to an LLM that a LinkedIn post is bad because you know LinkedIn and you know how it works. You will be able to say line by line, okay, this sentence worked, this not, for those reasons. You'll be able to say, okay, actually the whole, even if the format seems nice, the whole idea of this post is actually very boring and doesn't make any sense. So always use these kind of things to your expertise is key, and you have to give feedback when you're generating anything. Um, don't try to use every single tool existing on Earth. Like, on my side, I'm doing a lot of things today only using Claude. I have been trying, as lots of people, I was using ChatGPT before, and then I moved pretty easily and quickly to Claude as well. I'm also using right now a lot of Lovable app, but it's almost and some like C dance tools for very specific to video generation. Um, but don't try to be everywhere at once. It's better to have one tool by being able to really prompt well rather than have all of them. It just won't bring you too much information additionally as well. And also always automate things, once again, that really take you the most time and bandwidth and you don't like doing. Start always from your pain points. This is how you will make sure that there will be adoption. If you don't do so, you will lose any adoption you may have there. And so this is very important. But now, just we didn't want to talk about what AI can do yet because I have so many questions about this. So AI is never creative by itself. I had some companies asking me, like, could we use it as a creative sparring partner to kind of like enable us to do more creative concepts like this. So once again, AI is a good creative partner if you give to AI, for instance, complete scrappings of 6 or 7 competitors on their Instagram accounts, and you just ask it, please compare it to what we are doing right now and give us more ideas of content concepts we could push forward that work well with our persona. AI will help you because it's going to be able to analyze data and to use it probabilistic model to kind of tell to you, okay, according to your persona and to what you do, this is your content you should create based on what you're already doing. But it's never going to tell you, okay, wow, I have this absolutely amazing new idea you should push about because it's probabilistic model once again. So it's never going to find a new concept and expect end goal. It always comes from your human brain, not the LLM. So please don't count on it to be creative by itself. The video is a very specific use case as well. It was 1 year ago already. I had companies asking me to kind of like, yeah, can we now remove our whole video department? I was like, hell no, like it doesn't make any sense. So you can do a lot of things on AI. You have so many AI videos out there as well, but it's something that still takes lots of time to be prompted. And sometimes video of a few seconds that you see online that seems absolutely insane, they actually took 1 week to be created. And there's several issues we still have to kind of solve in AI creation, like for instance, the whole like how to make the videos adequate so that on every single plan you find the same people, the same objects, the same background. How to ensure that the whole like you still have to kind of like work with the storyboard, writing stuff, and then animated for videos. And if you're creating just like generic videos on Instagram or LinkedIn, you should always kind of spend lots of time saying, okay, like every first shot should be like this, every second one should be like this. I give you this info, you should put it here. So it's something that the initial prompt of creating a video, you should spend this 6 to 9 hours on it, and something that's going to take time. And it's obvious it's going to take time, but it's not going to fully replace everyone yet. Um, and this is something that's very important for me as well, is for AI to be good, you have to put time on this. Lots of prompts I have created, content factories I have worked on. It took between 6 to 9 hours each time for each piece of content to be able to ensure that the content we have creating at the end is good. I'm never talking about one single prompt. We always create, like, for instance, between 10 to 30 agents per every single piece of content, but you have to ensure that all of them are working well together, that you really created the right agents, the right moment. You can always aim to automate 80% of the task. You will be like satisfied with 80% of the result and never go to the 100%. I tried to do so specifically in content creation, but I was putting so many rules that it at some point it was becoming worse. So always stick to the sweet spot between 80 to 90%. You don't you If you correct more than 20% of a text, it's your prompt is wrong and you should either add more agents or change your prompt. But if you correct between 20 to 10%, it's the good spot. This is where you should stick to. And also it takes time to get there because you have to kind of give this very clear feedback on what works and why. So always spend time on this and never just ask AI to generate a newsletter or LinkedIn post for you because it's going to be bad. So if you had to start tomorrow doing stuff on this, what I really want you to remember is first start to always list the free marketing tasks that take you the most time today, that are recurrent and that you really don't like doing. For each of those, find good examples of assets you have created and start from doing the reverse prompting out of this. Give context to the LLM, ask it to ask you as many questions as possible, discuss together, and out of this generate a whole prompt and documentation. Then try to use it together with someone to generate something out of this. And when it works, you can talk about automation integration, but not before. Yes, so now you just have to apply it. You have my mail here, my calendar as well. I intended to share with you my LinkedIn. I maybe will just send it afterwards as well. But you can find me on LinkedIn. It's Anna Logacheva as well. So if you have any questions, I will drop it in the chat as well. Please feel free as well to contact me. I will always be happy to help if needed. So yeah, let's move to the Q&A. Have you also tried Mistral? So Mistral for me is like uh, I really love to use Mistral for semantic analysis. It's something that I kind of use for like the whole LinkedIn analysis we're talking before. I found that Mistral is very good at finding patterns into semantics. Mistral is also good into any data analysis as well. But I don't find Mistral as good as Claude or ChatGPT in copywriting. So that's why for me, where when copywriting is really core to lots of things that I do, even if I would really love to use Mistral for lots of reasons, it's not something I would go forward to because of the whole issues with the content creation. I really need to be better than this. What about Manus? I haven't used Manus, sorry. As I was saying, I would kind of like, for me, the most important thing is to kind of like stick to what you use. And I'm pretty happy right now with Claude for most of the use cases I have for the moment. So I'm not really spending time into expanding into other tools, but exploring more what I can do with Claude right now rather than doing anything else. Don't have any more questions.
There is one in the Q&A section
Yeah.
by Patricia. Using agents, aren't you worried about the client's confidentiality?
Yeah, so what is very interesting as well when you're doing marketing is that most of the content we are training agents on, like newsletters or LinkedIn posts, it's already out there. It's not something that is very confidential and it's not something I'm not sharing any internal information. So for content creation specifically, I think the whole rules about compliance should be less strict than for others. Obviously, when you try to work about on the marketing brain, on the whole marketing strategy of a company, where you give a lot of context about persona, all these kind of things, this way it becomes more touchy. And this is why some of my clients they choose to work on Dust. Like for instance, Dr. Lipo is working on Dust very easily because it will allow them to have all this GDPR compliance. You can really have a lot of control on which data you give to the LLM and why. And you always have to ask your IT if you want to add any new documents. So everyone controls very well what is used where and within which agents, and you can really regulate who uses what. And this is some of those clients will also kind of like ensure that you will never use Claude Cowork within your team. So for me, this is where you should think about the tool because sometimes you will have to choose the tool because of the whole your compliance regulation inside the company. But for most generic stuff like newsletters, LinkedIn, it's already out there. So the compliance questions are not that relevant. I compared Gemini and ChatGPT and they tell completely different what to do in that case. So it depends. Like it's a very broad question, depending on what information I'm giving as well. So it always first depends on the prompt. How like for instance, most of the agents I'm creating right now, they have very narrow tasks. So I kind of believe that if I use them within several LLMs, I will get pretty similar answers because what I ask it to them is very narrowed and very concentrated. But I really love using Dust because Dust allows you to kind of confront different opinion on one single tool. So you can create a chat discussion with Claude, Gemini, and Mistral and ask all of them to kind of like challenge each other. I never believe that there's huge difference in the thinking with different models. Obviously, if you go to Perplexity or Scatter, it will be different. But within the European American models, you won't have a huge difference about what they say, how they think. I think it's very what will change is the way you prompt and the kind of like the websites they have access to. This way you should always ask which of the websites you have access to, which is the data set, what is the data set you have been trained on until which year and why, what are your strengths or your weaknesses and how I should use it. Another tool that I really love is called LM Arena. I don't know if you know it, but it's a free tool. It allows you to see in real time which is the best model right now for every single task in marketing. So this kind of things that you may use if you want to really compare and change the model, but usually they all have access to the almost the same info. What kind of clients do you work with? Do you see AI become more generous? It's very fun because so I work with several I started working with scale ups, now I work with scale ups and enterprises. I also work sometimes with industrials, like some people who are like completely out of this AI world. And what I see is that everyone is interested in AI. They all think that they have something to do with AI and they kind of like they feel that they should get interested in it. They feel that they should do something about it. But at the same time, the main issue is that they often don't have the budget yet. For them, it's always about testing and learning. They don't know it's yet. They don't believe that there will be a consequent output out of this one. It's more like out of curiosity, like we should go into it, but we don't really know what it's going to bring us. We're at the very, very beginning of AI implementation within the teams. Everywhere I will find like AI ambassadors. So some people within the team who sometimes even bought Claude for themselves and start doing stuff there and without even caring about the company's policy. But like most of the teams I'm working with, they are curious but not understanding everything. And it's what is very hard about AI as well is that you don't have any like level in AI. You don't have like you don't know if you are good or bad or, or like because you don't know who to compare as well with. And it's kind of like where it's become very interesting as well is understanding what is actually your level. And it's also a question I also have from companies. Lots of them are going to tell me, we are fluent with AI, we already know how to use it, but they're going to do our first session and will understand that they were just creating one single discussion, never using any project or agents, and just ask it a huge task, and it will never do the right answer for them. So yeah, they think that they use it, but they don't know how to use it either as well. Hopefully it answers the question. Perfect. Thanks. But it's a very interesting time to live in.